And just like that,
I'm back. Hello beautiful people, welcome to my channel and welcome back for the OGs. As you can see, today's topic is anxiety. Not very glamorous, but we're gonna talk about it anyways. So what has led me to talk about this whole topic is seeing a video of myself like about a year and something ago, and then thinking of where I was mentally at the time, and it was just a mess. And all that inspired me to make this video because I realized how much better I'm doing by the grace of God. Like, let me get right into it. So how exactly did I start experiencing anxiety to a level where it was crippling? The beginning of it all was, I personally believe, university. I do think I've struggled with anxiety before, but it wasn't really to an extreme level, if that makes sense. So when I went to university, I feel like that's kind of where things started to go down. I wouldn't be able to exactly pinpoint what exact moment or what's the exact first thing that triggered the whole thing. I wouldn't be able to tell you, but I think it started around that time. So many things were changing, you know, going to a new country, no family, so many things. So that's where my extreme anxiety started. Some of the symptoms that I have experienced are the very obvious one that I experienced were panic attacks, and I've experienced them for a long time. And it was the first time it happened, it was very unexpected. I didn't know what that was, so I low-key thought I was gonna die. I was also feeling very restless, fatigued, and I struggled with insomnia really bad. Like, I remember specific times where I wouldn't sleep at night. Like, I wouldn't sleep at night for like a whole month, and I would literally stare at the ceiling for the whole night. And then next thing I know, the sun is rising. And the first night I was like, yo, I have yet to remember seeing the sun rise. Like, I was not usually waking up that early to see that, but given that I wasn't sleeping, that's what was happening. And then if I did sleep, it would only be for a few hours, and I would wake up like so many times in between. So that was also not pleasant. I experienced physical pain, like muscle pain, muscle ache, and I can't really explain like when that started, but that's also part of anxiety. It's also experiencing pain in your body, whether it's your back or your arms or wherever else. I also experienced trouble concentrating, like really bad trouble concentrating. And I remember this very specific event where I was writing an exam, and I couldn't remember anything that I had studied, and I was there with my, you know, little pencil, and I was kind of frozen. I was sweating, I was nervous, and I couldn't even write because I was so shaky. Another very obvious symptom that I experienced was intrusive thoughts. The thing about intrusive thoughts, it happens and then it just makes you not be able to focus on anything else other than that specific thought. And that's where a lot of fear-driven thoughts come into place, such as, oh, I'm gonna die, or something's gonna happen to me. And there was a very specific moment in time where I was afraid to go out because I just had these thoughts that things were gonna happen to me. And what helped me was literally praying every single time I stepped out the door. And once I started doing that every single time, that fear literally was gone, and I wasn't like afraid that something was gonna happen to me when I would just go on a 5-minute walk or go somewhere, which also, now that I think of it, led me not to go anywhere and to just isolate. Now, how did I cope with it? Because that's what a lot of people say, like, oh, I cope with my anxiety by like taking a walk by the park and having my little tea. But that's not how it was for me. So the first thing I did was going to therapy. And the reason why I did that is because I didn't know what was happening to me. So I reached out to the doctor and I was like, doctor, I don't know what's happening with me. And I kind of explained everything, and he was like, okay, we're gonna do some tests on you for this and that and the third. I was diagnosed with severe anxiety, and that kind of shifted things in my mind, because I was like, severe what? Because to me, I don't know if it's because people don't really talk about these things where I'm from, so I just assumed that I wouldn't struggle with mental health, because it's like, why would I struggle with mental health? But I realized that couldn't be further from the truth. So with all that, I had to work with a therapist, and I was there for some time, and then I went back to therapy again because it was getting out of control again. And I learned a lot of grounding techniques, relaxation, breathing techniques, and so many things that did help for some time until things went crazy again. But it definitely helped me to go to therapy, and I'm grateful for that experience. One thing that I take with me till this day about this whole therapy is learning how to have a balanced thought. So when you have these intrusive thoughts and there are arguments in your mind for those thoughts and there are arguments against them, and then you can take both of them and then find where the balanced thought is, so that you're not, thinking of the extreme of the worst that could happen, but you're kind of bringing yourself back to a more realistic and more balanced thought. And the most effective way that I coped and that helped me and that literally changed my whole life is prayer. The thing is, you hear people talk about it in the church, you hear, pastors and, sometimes your parents say like, pray, pray about it, which is true, but we don't really listen sometimes. Prayer helped me tremendously, and how I went about it was, how when people say to just let go and let God, well, I did. I let go and I let God, and I would just pray that God will be in control of the situation, and if it was something that I had to get done, that God will help me to accomplish this task, or to do this thing, or to handle certain situations. And I have seen such a major change, and I really prayed that God would deliver me from a lot of these things, because some of these things are also not normal, but I'm not gonna get into that today. But I've definitely seen such a big change with it. And the thing with prayer, it also goes hand in hand with the word naturally. There was a very specific instance where I was feeling very anxious, and I looked at my board, because I have like a bunch of Bible verses like written and just pasted on there, and I saw 2 Timothy 1:7, and it says, the verse that God did not give us the spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. And I remember, being taught that when you take certain Bible verses, you can put yourself in that situation. So instead of just reading it like that, you read it as in, I was not given a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. And I got up and I said it with conviction, and I literally felt whatever was crippling me lift and get off. All this to say that prayer works and prayer changes things. And that's one thing that I was told over and over again, like prayer changes situations and prayer changes things, which is absolutely true. And I definitely feel like all these things have helped, but prayer has helped even more. And the thing is, you're not always gonna have access to a therapist, a pastor, a counselor, or whoever it is, but you always have access to pray to God for help, which is very heartwarming and touching, and it is absolutely incredible when you think about it. I hope this inspired some of you guys, especially if you are from a country or a place where you don't really talk about these things. Even in my own country, we don't talk about this. Even in my own family, we don't talk about these things, which I have yet to know why. But I'm here starting the conversation, and I hope that it can help somebody out there. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. God bless you. Bye.